morning. Thank you for tapping in for some real talk from the heart. We are reading through the Bible devotionally, 7 chapters per day, reading through the Bible cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation, twice per year. And this morning, 7 chapters are Leviticus chapters 9 through 15. It's a little bit of tough reading as you get into these laws that apply to the Levites, laws that apply to the children of Israel. And so when you're reading through these, they're kind of a little bit like, man, how does that apply to my life? And I mean, there's some nuggets, there's some takeaways. And for me, of course, the whole book of Leviticus, right, the theme is holiness. Holiness to God. I mentioned that yesterday morning where over and over you see that phrase, to the Lord or before the Lord. It's a picture of consecration, right, which basically means to be set apart to God. And so here's the theme I want you to remember. God has brought them out of Egypt. Egypt is, of course, a type of the world for you and me. Now, what was Egypt like? Well, it was, of course, idolatry, right, all bondage, right, all these things. And so God brings his people out, and he says, you're my people, and I want you to live my way. And he has these prescribed manners, right? Written word. He's having Moses write these things down. And he says, you're to live according to my word. Now, here in Leviticus, chapters 10, 11, and 15 are the chapters that I want to draw from this morning. It's this same topic of holiness, man. And you see here in chapter 9 where God calls Moses and says, hey, Moses, tell the people to separate themselves to me, right? To come apart to me. He says, because I want to reveal myself to them, right? I want to manifest my glory to them. And so God does that. And then in chapter 10, you have this horrible thing of the priests, the ones that are supposed to be setting the example. They go in and they offer profane fire before the Lord. It says very clearly there that it was not prescribed by God. In other words, they acted according to their own will and not according to what God had commanded, not to what according to God had written. And that's where we're always going to go wrong. When we want to live by our own will, we want to live by our own feelings, our own thoughts, and not according to what God has prescribed in his word. And they do that. Of course, God takes them out, and then he gives this word following right after that. And here's what he says. This is Leviticus 10:3. And Moses said to Aaron, this is what Yahweh spoke, saying, by those who come near me, right, which is what Aaron's sons were. They were priests. They were coming near before God. I must be regarded as holy, and before all the people, I must be glorified. So Aaron held his peace, and so he says, I will display my holiness, right, through those who come near me, through the mediators that were coming right before God. I will display my glory before all the people. And so they had a responsibility to regard God's holiness before the people. And listen, today, right, under the new covenant, we have a responsibility that's very similar, right? God wants us, right, to regard him as holy, but then secondly, he wants us to live holy lives that manifest that glory to other people, right? He says, before the people, I must be glorified. How do you and I glorify God? Man, by manifesting his glory, by living holy lives. You and I can't manifest God's glory. We can't, before all the people, glorify God if we're living right, like we're back in Egypt. If we're living our old lives back in the world, we can't do that. We're not going to glorify God that way, and we're not going to manifest that holiness either. And so you continue on, and he continues on with this thought. If you read through there in chapter 10, it says that you may distinguish between holy and unholy, between unclean and clean. It's the same thought. It's the same thought of regarding God's holiness. And then he tells them another aspect of it. He says, the reason why I want you to regard my holiness, he says, because I want you to teach your children. I want you to teach your children what it is to live holy lives, excuse me, before me. And so, and of course, living according to all that God has written and teaching all that is written to your children, manifesting that glory. And then again, he talks about it, man, just distinguishing between that. And then he gives them the reason why. He says, why do I want you to live holy? Why do I want you to teach these things to your children? This is in Leviticus 11. He says, for I am Yahweh your God. You shall therefore consecrate yourselves. Again, that theme, holiness, man, being set apart to God. You shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall you defile yourselves. For I am the Lord who brings you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. So he brought us out. He brought you out. He brought me out. Not so we can live our own lives, do our own thing, live unholy, right? Live unclean. He says, no, I brought you out to be mine. And so, listen, he says, you shall therefore be holy, right? Because I brought you out, you shall be holy, for I am holy. And so it's regarding God's holiness, man. Do not defile yourselves, man. I brought you out. Distinguish again between the unclean and the clean. This is just a reoccurring theme in these chapters. And then the last verse I want to speak on is Leviticus 15:31. Leviticus 15:31, it says, thus you shall separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, lest they die in their uncleanness when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. And so this is the whole summation of it. This is why he gave them these laws. So when you're reading Leviticus 9 through 15, you're reading through these difficult laws about, body emissions and leprosy and all these things. And they have some great, lessons for us as far as even application. But listen, this is the whole summation of the matter. It's regarding God's holiness. And right here in this last verse, Leviticus 15:31, he says, you shall separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness. And again, the word separate, set apart, holiness, consecrate, same word. To be set apart from what? From uncleanness. But here's the thing. Here's how it works. To be set apart from something, you are set apart to something. And for us, we are set apart from our old sinful nature, our old sinful past that we've lived in, right? We're distancing ourselves from that. And we're, separating ourselves to God. That's how you regard holiness. You see, holiness is not a matter of self-righteousness. Holiness is not a matter of self-righteousness. It is a matter of intimacy. God says, separate from that and separate to me. See, that's the intimate thing there. It says, lest they die in their uncleanness when they defile my tabernacle. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 16 and 17. 1 Corinthians 3, 16 and 17 says, do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him, for the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. And so, man, you fit Leviticus 15:31 right in with 1 Corinthians 6, 16 and 17. And it's the same thing, Old Testament or New Testament. God wants us to regard his holiness. And if we think that we can disrespect his holiness, we can disregard his holiness, and he's not going to do anything about it, man, we got another thing coming, y'all. God is holy. Let us regard his holiness. Let us regard his holiness. There's a lot of people who do not have any regard at all for the holiness of God. And I'm talking about even in church folks. Church people, man. There's a lot of church people that have no regard for the holiness of God. They just go in there, do the little church thing, bounce out and go back to their lives, living in Egypt, living in the world, idolatry, immorality, right? Without even giving it a second thought, man. We need to, moment by moment, live regarding the holiness of God. There's a connection between, again, intimacy and holiness. Distinguish between what is clean and unclean. Distinguish between what is holy and unholy. Don't live haphazardly. Don't live this, whatever. No, man, we need to walk carefully before God. That's what the Bible tells us. Right? Don't forget the Lord loves you. I love you too. Let's be praying for each other. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to bounce out. I got to be at the church at 7. We have Saturday morning prayer from 7 to 8. So, hey, if you can make it to the building, man, come on through. Calvary Chapel, Toppenish, 408 West 6th Avenue. We have prayer every Saturday morning from 7 to 8. But listen, if you can't make it, man, wherever you are, get on your knees right there in the living room or in your bedroom or wherever you are. Get on your knees and pray with us. Man, Jesus told them, right, in the garden, he says, could you not wait with me 1 hour? We have an hour of prayer, man, every Saturday morning. Just get on your face before God, man. Just let him know you love him. Let them know you appreciate him. But then also, man, there's a lot of people that need prayer. A lot of people are sick with COVID right now. They need our prayers. A lot of people sick, with different things, and injuries and illnesses, relationships, marriages, people battling cancer, right? We want to get on our face before God, and we want to pray, and we want to intercede for these people. So join us, man, all right? Hey, salute. Got to get out of here. God bless y'all.